camera's hot. All right. This is Joel Hughes from 15off.com. I'm here with Seth Stisher at the Wilmington Recreation Club in north central Illinois, I guess. Just went through an awesome clinic here and had a really wonderful day. So I thought we'd talk to Seth a little bit and see what we could get out of him while he was here. So Seth, what brings you to Central Illinois? What are you doing here?
Well, this is the second time that the U.S. Nationals have been here over at Water's Edge, and last year I hooked up with Keith Glavin and all the group out here at Wilmington Recreation Center and came out and did a one-day clinic. Kind of the same gig here. We have a booth for H2O Pro Shop, my online store and everything. We have a booth over at the Nationals where we're selling radars and all the other gear that we schlep to people and try to help people out with. And then we had a booth at the Malibu Open in Milwaukee, so we're just kind of transitioning over. And then, as usual, we're here skiing as well. So just skied the Nationals a couple days ago, and on a coaching tour all at the same time. So it's kind of it's that time of year where everything we've got going on is kind of hitting on all cylinders, and we have to keep moving day in and day out, coaching, taking care of gear, etc.
Yeah, when you see that H2O Pro Shop caravan of trailers and SUVs, you know they're in town. There's certainly no doubt about it. So I thought we'd get a little bit into a couple technical topics. I guess we'll talk about skiing a little bit here and there. One good topic that Seth's huge on that we should probably talk about is stance, and how when you've got a brand new skier or someone who's just getting into slalom, just getting into the course, what's your approach to I notice right away you get to stance. What's your philosophy there? What's your approach to getting them standing correctly on the ski so that all the other movements that they make are a little more natural?
Well, I think what you said there is the biggest thing, is that you have to get a skier into a natural stance so that they can act athletically. Whether they're a super athlete or just your average Joe like me, it's just you've got to be able to have a good base to make all your movements from. I preach it at all levels. Although with a lot of skiers it's not so easy to go back and change so many things, and you don't want to take people out of what they already know to be pretty good skiing. You want to just help them along a little bit. But with beginning skiers or beginning course skiers or just beginning slalom skiers, it's always nice to be able to teach them to get the weight on the balls of their feet and get their hips and center of mass over the balls of their feet, just like any other athlete would in any other sport, so that natural movements can consist of moving off of that stable base in whatever direction you choose to go. And basically it becomes the best way to communicate efficiently with the ski. And you probably see it on our t-shirts and things like that. One of our catchphrase is "ride the water," and I think that kind of was born out of me talking about stance all the time. So many people, you can watch them ride down the lake with the tail of the ski digging in the water, just pushing water. It makes a 150-pound guy have the weight of a 200-pound guy out there. So if you stand up over the balls of your feet, you start to ride the water, and you can more comfortably and effectively dictate what the ski does in either direction and have a stable platform to ski off of.
Earlier in the day you had mentioned that in no other sport do you see people athletically standing like this. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that we have in water skiing that I think is the biggest challenge, and we talk about snow ski crossover and crossover to other sports, is we've got this tiny 3/8 of an inch line that's towing you, and then you've got one foot in front of the other, which is completely foreign to the body. And both of those things cause us to do somewhat unnatural things with our body to kind of compensate. The reality is if we can stand up over the balls of our feet, keep our body not upright and stiff, but upright to the point that we're balanced, that 3/8 of an inch line can pull us from our core, from our hips, and give us sort of a stable feel or a stable ride. And then the other additional thing, like I said, is having one foot in front of the other. So when we talk about stance, if you favor one foot or the other, you get into a sort of a precarious position that we don't encounter in other sports.
That's interesting. So kind of dovetailing into that, there's a concept that you brought up earlier in the day as well, that is, in this sport, in any sport, you need sort of a power source. And in here, this sport, the rope is actually your power source.
Yeah.
So could you kind of dovetail that in as well?
Well, yeah, kind of as I hinted at, to me, it's one of the things that makes it so much more challenging than a lot of sports out there. Maybe some of the limit to the number of people that do it is, in any other sport we use momentum and we're attacking a particular opponent or we're using gravity. Here we've got, like I said, 3/8 of an inch to place somewhere on our body such that it pulls our entire body through the course and creates speed and pressure on the ski and that sort of thing. The placement of that rope, in addition to stance, becomes really the basis of all the mechanical things we do. So we have all these rules when we ski, and I think without a firm understanding of how the rope connects with the body and our body stands on the ski, they're just rules.
Yeah.
And that's why you see so many skiers out there that do it so many different ways, because it shouldn't be a hard, rigid set of rules. It just should be you learning how to use that power source to swing back and forth behind the boat from a stance that makes you able to communicate with the ski to create that swing, as we call it.
Yep.
And it becomes quite a riddle for most people, and if you really think about it, it's not super complex, but it's very important how you attack that sort of thing.
Excellent. All right, so another thing that was a major light bulb for me today was sort of paying attention to the transition zone between the second wake and your turn, essentially, and making that, rather than that being just sort of a, uncontrolled, relaxed movement where you're not really engaging your mind. There's a concept of actively transitioning.
Sure.
And, keeping that direction out and really making that transition be something you're very heavily thinking about and maybe thinking less in the turn.
Well, the term that I always, for me, I think was overused as I was growing up was, we called it an edge change, where you take the ski from one edge to the other. And that was always somewhat of a passive movement for most people. So you pull through the wakes, as we were told, and then you roll the ski over to the inside edge and hit the brakes. Then you figure out how to turn the ski. In my concept, and there's a lot of people out there who coach this and believe this, and I think this is pretty much the understood way at this point, that active transition where you ride the cutting edge of the ski into the center of the wakes, and at the center line, which is kind of the bottom of the swing as you're swinging around the boat, as you reach that center line, you take all of that energy that's stored up in the ski, so the ski's flexing and receiving this load from the boat, you take all of that energy and give it a hint of movement to take your lower body and shoot the ski through and out to the turning edge. That aspect of getting the ski to release out, cast out, set itself out on the turning edge without losing direction is really what sets up the turn.
Yeah.
So when you can make that active outbound transition, the turn becomes a very passive sort of thing where it's all about standing on the ski in the proper spot and riding the carve that has been established by that move out.
Yeah.
So no longer, when you accomplish this, no longer do you have to focus on, okay, here's the buoy, it's time to turn and make a big active move in.
Yeah.
I mean, I make that mistake as much as anybody, but the better you can actually create a nice transition out that really casts the ski away, the more autopilot the turn is carving through it.
Excellent. And even more importantly, that, we always think of the offside turn, and you're thinking of things going into, well, in my case, going into one, we're the offside turn, we also have the best onside pull going into that turn. So, you don't have to think as much about conserving that angle, conserving that transition, making that happen, and act as actively as maybe your weaker pull into your onside turn. So I think that was,
that was one of the things
something I don't normally think about.
Yeah, you don't generate quite as much speed on that offside pull. So for a right foot forward skier such as yourself, you come off of one ball, you're not generating quite the speed or direction, however you want to look at it, coming from one out to two, and therefore you're not going to get quite the whip out to your onside turn as you'd like. So what ends up happening is we have an onside turn that looks fine,
right?
Because we can swing the ski around, but we actually get loaded pretty quickly out of the turn.
Yep.
Overload and then lose direction as we're heading into our offside turn. So our offside turn comes off occasionally looking like it's problematic, but oftentimes it's from our approach from our onside turn.
Yep.
That came from a bad wake crossing from the previous offside turn, and it's so on and so forth. You always got to go back a few steps to figure out the solution.
Yep. Awesome. So let's talk about your businesses, currently, what your goals are, what you try to strive for, and what your vision is for H2O Pro Shop, and as well as your coaching and your site in Charleston. And sort of where you're at now, where you're hoping to be, and all that good stuff.
Well, I don't want to bore you with too many details, but the basic concept is we're still doing and trying to do what we set out to do from the very beginning, which is grow the sport with people that aren't involved and help the people who are involved kind of feed their passion, whether it's through equipment, advice, coaching, just the experience, bringing the experience to them. So, we still have everything going on at our home site in Charleston at Oz, a little lake in the woods that you probably saw years ago in its first stages on 15 off when Anthony Warren was there skiing with us. That was quite a while ago. We're in our 4th year there now.
Wow.
Having a good time with that. And then with the shop, we've really kind of been working on fine-tuning our process so that we can continue to provide everything that a skier could need, but doing it in a manner that's as efficient as possible. I mean, that's one of the things that as skiers we're having to learn. We know how to water ski and deal with that sort of thing, but we're having to learn to become efficient businessmen. Inventory management, the processes, etc. So, we're working with our sales guys on making sure that we get a quick turnaround on customer response. If people hit the voicemail box instead of catching the actual sales guy, getting back to them right away. And those are challenges we deal with, especially peak season, because it is so busy, and we're not operating with 30 different staff members. We have all kind of qualified individuals that know the sport, know the equipment we're selling, etc. So for me personally, we pack up on Saturday afternoon after Nationals. A lot of the staff flies back home to Charleston to keep things rolling there, as well as my family, and I stay on the road coaching. And we even have other coaches like Brooks Wilson, Ryan Dodd, some pro skiers that all support us as well. And we're kind of building a nucleus of people like that are bringing people to us product-wise that we can all share the experience and keep those guys going, even if they don't come ski with me directly or at our training center. And so the goals never change. We are the H2 Osmosis Sports that we began as. We just kind of simplified the name to H2O Pro Shop, and that's what we sort of market now, so that you can pass it on to your friends without stuttering. So
that's right.
Yeah, just still loving it and living the lifestyle and trying to keep it going for ourselves and you guys.
Love it. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for this installment of the interview. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the water.
Thanks, guys.